So you want bigger forearms. But today, I'm gonna be talking about the only 3 forearm exercises you need to build bigger vascular forearms. Before we begin, pre-workout. As you know, I don't actually take pre-workout. So I'm just gonna take this MyProtein iced coffee whey. Whey forward iced coffee frappuccino. Now, when it comes to forearms, there's a population of y'all out there that will never need to directly train forearms. Your forearms will just keep up as you naturally apply progressive overload with your other lifts that require your grip strength, notably deadlifts, lunges, Bulgarian split squats, back exercises, and even bicep exercises, especially hammer curls. With that in mind though, if you want to maximize forearm growth, you need to directly train it, which is the point of this video. So let me show y'all on the first exercise. All right, so before we get to the first exercise, I quickly want to explain what main muscles we're trying to target when we say we're trying to target the forearms, right? I think the 3 main muscles you should consider is 1, the brachioradialis, which is this big meaty muscle right up here, okay? This right here, this is gonna give you a lot of girth in your forearm, okay? So brachioradialis, that's the first muscle we're gonna target. Now, some people don't even consider the brachioradialis a forearm muscle, but I mean, it's attached to your lower arm, so that's why I consider it. But if we're getting specific to our forearms, the next muscles we're gonna target are the flexors, which is gonna be down here, okay? They aid in wrist flexion, just like the name suggests. So this part right here. And then the last of the 3 forearm muscles is gonna be the extensors, which aid in wrist extension. And that is gonna be these muscles right here, which when you're at a low body fat percentage, you can kind of see this get a little stringy. I don't know, the lighting will show it, but those are gonna be the 3 muscles we essentially try to target. I'm gonna order this video from the most important to the least important in my opinion, so let's get on the first exercise. And last thing before we begin, I wanna mention the importance of being at a low body fat percentage when it comes to having aesthetic forearms, because as you see here, as I'm wiggling my fingers, you can kind of get a lot of definition when you're at a low body fat percentage. See, everything's like moving here. So that's what you need to know about forearm training, all right? But without further ado, let's finally actually get to the first exercise. All right, so first exercise we have is a curl, and that's gonna be the barbell reverse curl. Now the reverse curl is gonna be biasing the brachioradialis. Basically, because your wrist position is pronated rather than supinated, you're essentially limiting the amount of biceps contribution. And as you pronate more, it's gonna become more brachioradialis compared to brachialis, which is that under part of the bicep. Now, there are some options here. The main problem I find with this movement is your grip becomes a limiting factor, which can be a good thing or a bad thing because your forearms do play a role with your overall grip strength, right? However, because we're trying to specifically target the brachioradialis, I will count it as one of the cons of this exercise, right? Your grip can kind of give out and result in you not being able to push really hard with the brachioradialis, which is why I think hammer curls can be a really good substitute to this exercise as well, because the neutral grip is a much more solid grip than being pronated when on a curl, which allows you to have a better time training close to failure. So that is something to take note of. Now, something you can do on the reverse curl if you find that your grip is kind of limiting is instead of using a thumbless grip, you can use a thumb over grip or kind of like alternate in between the 2. You kind of see me throughout the set kind of doing back and forth. I find that when I do use my thumbs, I tend to kind of feel it a little bit more in my brachialis and biceps, which I don't want. So I tend to kind of alternate it, maybe do a rep with thumb in to kind of reframe my grip before going back to thumbless. Also, an option for you more advanced lifters is the landmine reverse curl, popularized by John Meadows and Eugene Teo. I mentioned this exercise before in the past. Now, I know a lot of what I said is a little bit confusing, so if you feel like, Tyler, I don't really know where to start. I just want more guidance on what exactly I should be doing to work out, and pretty much just want to optimize your fitness routine or your meal plan and have the ability to like ask questions along the way, then I highly recommend you apply to my exclusive one-on-one fitness coaching program where pretty much we do exactly just that. Ultimately, the reason why most people fail in fitness is they don't do something sustainable for themselves, right? So really find that middle ground between optimizing your life with fitness while also still enjoying your life at the same time and find that balance. That is where I really come in. So apply in the link in the description, and I look forward to speaking with y'all. All right, so the second exercise I'm gonna show y'all is gonna be a forearm flexor exercise for down here, and that is the unilateral cable forearm flexor. Now, there's a lot of ways to do this exercise. You can even do it bilaterally, but I prefer doing it with cable set up high and kind of hunching over because you can get a better range of motion on the exercise compared to doing this bilaterally. I know Sam Sulek does it where his arms are straight, the cable just stepped down below and he's doing a forearm flexor like that. I find it hard to actually get a good range of motion because in that position, the range of motion pretty much stops at a neutral wrist position. But with this unilateral version, when you're doing overhead, you can notice I can actually get a pretty good stretch and put my wrist into extension so that I have a better range of motion, actually do the forearm flexor, which I think for an exercise like this where the range of motion is already like super short, I think it's important. The problem with this exercise is a lot of people can do it wrong where they kind of like bring their elbow into it, and for some people it can kind of give you a little bit of wrist elbow discomfort if you're not doing it properly. So what I like to do is I like to stabilize my body with my offhand. I kind of hug my elbow so that everything's sturdy, my shoulders aren't moving, my elbows aren't moving, and the only thing that's happening is this wrist flexion I'm doing. Also, some people complain about wrist pain when they're doing forearm flexors. So the good thing with doing it unilaterally is you can change your wrist position the way you're actually doing the flexor. So if doing it super pronated like this hurts your wrist, what you can do instead is kind of pivot your body so that you're technically kind of doing more of like an arm wrestling style forearm flexor. In this position, generally you're gonna get less wrist pain. So try that out if you're getting wrist pain by being completely pronated. You can kind of do something in the middle, about halfway, kind of like this like 45-degree angle, right? So there's a lot of flexibility you can have when you're doing it unilaterally. So that is the second exercise, and let's move on to the third exercise, which is a really good superset that can be paired with this cable forearm flexor. So the third exercise is the forearm extensor. Now, if you're gonna superset it, you can do the cable version, but it is a little bit challenging to get into the right position to actually do it, which is why I opt for this dumbbell variant where you're using a bench to stabilize your forearm down here so that pretty much all you gotta focus on at this point is the wrist extension. Now, I find it pretty hard to actually like be fully pronated and do it, especially if you're trying to go really heavy. What ends up happening is you're a little bit like halfway, right? Like a little bit. Because these are very small muscle groups, I like doing them as antagonistic supersets. So supersetting forearm flexors with the wrist extensors. You can pretty much do a circuit like that, bang them out in 10 minutes. When it comes to forearm training, I wouldn't dedicate a whole day to necessarily training your forearms. At maximum, choose like 2 exercises from this video and incorporate it in your other upper body days, your push-pull days, arm days, whatever you're doing, right? But yeah, that is the 3rd exercise. Pretty much the only 3 exercises you need, but I do want to show you a 4th exercise, so let's get to that. Okay, the 4th optional exercise is a farmer's carry. Now, the reason why I am including it as optional is generally when it comes to forearm contribution in other exercises such as back exercises, you're ultimately working your forearms via your grip. Your forearm contributes to your grip strength, right? So the difference between working your grip strength and other traditional forearm exercises is that holding heavy objects like in a farmer's carry is going to be an isometric contraction, meaning your forearms aren't contributing to movement, right? So they're just statically contracting in place, trying to hold the weight up. Similar to, let's say, a plank, where a plank is an isometric ab exercise, as is something like this to your forearm. If you're specifically trying to improve your grip strength, then something like this can help. Another thing you can do is just like a dead hang off a bar. If you don't have heavy weights, if grip strength really isn't like the most important factor, I reckon that you should be getting enough exposure to working your grip as you apply progressive overload on your back exercises, all that stuff. So that is the last exercise. Let's get going. All right, guys. Hope you guys enjoyed the only 3 forearm exercises you need to grow some juicy vascular forearms. Smash the like button if you want to see more videos just like this. Hit subscribe to get your dream physique. I'll see y'all in the next one. Peace.